3, go live. We are live. Hello, everybody.
Boom.
Clay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good on this beautiful Saturday morning. The light dusting of snow just waiting to melt away. And we're going to be talking about WandaVision. There's 14 of you right there. I see Kyle. I see Cardinal. I see Mercer. I see Matt. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Clay, why don't you talk about something for a second, see if our audio is working.
Well, I have a friend who's in Austin right now who is in the middle of a snowmageddon, as everybody else in Texas is. She just moved there from Savannah, and she put a video up as the first snowfall happened.
Yep.
And it was like a throat clearing's worth of snow, and she was acting as though the apocalypse had just come. And so I feel bad in retrospect giving her a hard time about that. I think she just jumped the gun. If she had waited another day, then it would have been.
Then it would have been
more
Instagram worthy.
sympathetic,
Yeah, right. Once it gets to that point. Yeah, because we have friends in Tennessee who, Amy has a friend in Tennessee who grew up up here and in the north in general. I think they got like 2 inches of snow and it just shut everything down. They were like, the cars can't drive. I don't know what it is. Although up here we're losing our way too. Good morning. Don't forget to take your Nexus pills. Hello, Norman. So I guess that's fine. No one's complained about the audio to this point. So we're going to move on with WandaVision episode 7, which is Breaking the Fourth Wall, I think is the title of this one. Clearly modeled after the mockumentary style of Modern Family, most clearly. Modern Family didn't start. Wes is louder than Clay for me.
Oh,
Clay,
sorry. I didn't turn myself up. I should be good to go now.
That sounds good. Clearly mocking Modern Family.
Very office theme song, though.
Yes, an Office theme song. So maybe just going after that whole thing in general, although it looks, obviously with the setup, it's more Modern Family than The Office at this point.
Yeah.
But it is the mockumentary style. Episode 7, we've got 2 left. In this one, Vision kind of figures stuff out a little bit more.
3 left, no? Is it 10 episodes?
I think it's 9. Am I wrong about that?
Oh. I don't
It's
know.
9.
I thought it was 10, but yeah, whatever.
Well, Vision figures some stuff out. Wanda tries to figure out where she wants to go with things. That's the best way to describe it. I don't know. This one's a strange one. What did you think about it?
I liked the
And it
second...
is nine episodes.
9?
So we got 2 left.
Weird. Because I had heard somewhere that the last 3 were all going to be an hour long. Maybe it's the last 2 are only going to be an hour long. Or I should say we're going to be expanded to an hour. I thought the second half of it was more successful than the first half. I don't know if it was the change in style or what, but I didn't think the mockumentary style was as good as some of the other. They just I didn't think it clicked as well as some of the other ones had. I don't know if it was just because Elizabeth Olsen had a little trouble with it or something.
Yeah, she's not very good in it.
I
mean, it's not. I don't know. I don't think. I think just I'll let you finish, but it's just I thought the execution or the idea of using this style for this episode was brilliant. I didn't think it was done very well. I didn't think it was funny or really insightful in the way that it needed to be. In my mind, the whole reason of doing this is that you choose this style of talking to the camera and giving basically monologues that other characters can't hear in the episode where Wanda and Vision are both trying to figure out what they want to do with this, like what this all means. So it's
Sure.
This is the first episode where they've actually had to consider what they're doing and why, what all that means. So I thought stylistically it worked. I didn't think it was funny enough, and I didn't think that Olsen was very good at delivering that talking to the camera stuff. It felt stilted and not the high energy or exaggerated energy that The Office and Modern Family have that make that really pop a little bit. She just seems down in the dumps, which is appropriate, but I don't know if it's right for the style.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Paul Bettany was really good at it.
He's good. He's better
when they
at
do
it,
the
yeah.
Vision stuff later on. I thought that was a lot more successful. But yeah, so there was something about it that that element that wasn't quite clicking. And Catherine Hahn was good at it as well, obviously, because she's good at everything. But yeah, I really it was a strange episode as far as how much stuff they touched on too, because there was only one scene with Hayward, and it was literally Hayward going like, "Is everybody here?" And they're like, "Yep, everybody's here." And it's like, "Okay." And then they went on to the next scene. You never saw him again. It was
pan up to the red.
Yeah,
the
it was
red
a
fence.
weird, like, why touch on him at all, aside from just showing that he's still in the mix. It was a weird element to throw in there.
I'm honestly having a little bit of trouble tracking what's going on with Hayward or like that plot in general, because he's being implied to be behind something now. I don't understand what's going on.
It seems that he's after Vision. He's trying to restart Vision and use Vision as a weapon. So he knows Vision is inside the hex, so he's trying to do whatever he has to do to get Vision back.
Okay.
We
haven't really
Operation
seen
Cataract, I believe it was called, which is nice.
Is that a reference to something, or is that just a...
No, it's just I do think it's a clever name when you're dealing with the Vision, and it's Operation Cataract.
Yeah, Cataract. I don't feel. I thought it was strange that they're tying him in at all, because he doesn't really do anything in this series. So it's like to motivate him to do something, I felt was unnecessary or like confusing. I am having a little trouble tracking what's going on outside in the real, quote unquote, real world, just because I don't care about that real world as much. I thought this episode made me laugh, where it was I was both impressed and unimpressed, where they bring out that little car thing, and when they first unveil it, I'm like, oh. Like, if this was a TV show, that's actually kind of an expensive prop. But then when they do what it has to do, it's like, oh, it's not nearly impressive enough. Like, you need a tank or something to drive into that, not a little dune buggy that can flip over like a golf cart when it hits something.
That was a pretty big dune buggy. And it was supposedly built to the specifications of whatever metallic or... I don't know, whatever the garbage was they talked about in the last episode, needing to get through the thing, but it clearly didn't work. I really like that part where it blasted it back and it came out as half a minivan.
Yeah.
I thought this one really picked up about halfway through. Once Monica pushed in through the hex wall, I thought it started to pick up. I liked the Vision stuff. I thought the Vision stuff where he's trying to get Darcy away from the circus was kind of fun, and all his into camera stuff was good. I thought there was legitimate tension going on when Monica showed up to confront Wanda, just because I don't know what Monica can and can't do now that she seemingly has her photon powers. So I didn't know how that was going to play out, and the last couple minutes or so with the Agatha Harkness reveal was very fun as well. It's kind of hard to hate on another incredibly catchy song that they've given you in the show.
I didn't think this one did a very good job of moving in a direction where I'm going to be satisfied with it when it ends. I think there was a comment up here. Wish there was another plan in the mix. Wish the whole resolution would be Wanda facing the fact that the right thing to do, freeing the townsfolk, would mean letting Vision go forever.
I think that's still going to happen.
Yeah, I think he follows that up. That'll play a part in it, but in my opinion, it would be more interesting if they wanted to come to terms with Vision's death, the entire focus. They're not focusing on this enough, I think, is the problem. They separated those characters for this one. And then right when you think that Vision is going to get home and you're going to have an episode of them hashing this out in some kind of sitcom thing, some other witch appears that I don't know who this person is and is like, now I'm the villain of this series. And I go, oh, God damn it. As I've said before, the series to me is more interesting when it actually gets into this sitcom-y stuff. And I thought that what they tried to do here was a good idea, it just didn't work. But I want more of that, and I'm less interested in seeing all these stupid articles that are like, you won't believe who shows up at the end of the WandaVision episode. And then I watch it and I go, who the hell is that? I have to Google who it is, and then I still don't know who it is after I read it.
Well, yeah, you're just gonna get more clicks off of that. Then you won't believe how well Wanda works through the grief cycle in this episode.
But it's one thing for the clickbait article blogs to do it. It's another for the show to do it. And it's like, I don't care about this. I know that she has to turn into something, but all it feels like is that they're just delaying Wanda and Vision getting together. And as weekly backstoried as those two characters are, if you're not into the comics, they don't have a lot of time to waste between explaining what these two are doing and what they're thinking about.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't spend more time in this episode like dealing with the fact that they were apart, because they have not been out of each other's eyesight for 6 episodes. Like they've been fairly, and that's the whole thing, is Wanda's doing all of this because she can't let Vision go. So I was surprised, especially like you're saying, especially given the into camera confessional kind of thing that they had going on. I was surprised that they didn't deal with that a bit more. Because they didn't, it turned into, it was weird because it turns into, like, even the theme song focuses more on Wanda and only brings in the Vision bit at the end, implying that the show is more about her than it is about them now, or at least for this episode. And her demeanor in the whole thing is basically a mom who just had went on a binge last night and is dealing with a hangover.
She does have that.
And she and her husband are fighting or whatever, but you don't really ever get the sense that's what's going on, other than just the setup to get the kids out of the house, because they don't really spend any time with Wanda, like, processing it, really. They have her dealing with the... They have her dealing with her losing control of the world and stuff like that, but they don't ever really link it to the trouble that's being had between her and Vision, or the fact that Vision is now, quote unquote, gone for the moment or whatever.
She is preventing them from getting home. That's her action into doing something, which I think is fine, but I don't think it's enough.
If that's even her, it could be. Agatha,
the other witch character. It could be, yeah. The characters would be wrong because they think the characters in that scene say that this is Wanda trying to prevent him from getting home. I just think that's too little. Like, I really need something. Like, thinking back on it, I really did like the scene where there's one scene, a couple episodes, where it's the fight where they're fighting over the end credits, and I think that's the scene where they both fly at that point, and that feels like thematically and character-based accurate conflict that should be bubbling up more at this point. And I don't really like the fact that they separated them. I don't really understand why Vision went. I understand he went there to there, but I don't understand why this episode didn't get him back in time. And I don't think that Wanda preventing him from coming home so that she doesn't have to deal with the conflict is like impactful enough. I don't think Vision's like, I got to get back. She can prevent all she wants. And they tie it into the things stopping them are kind of silly, but it makes sense in this hex world that Wanda has made up. But at the same time, you're like, Vision, how about you just haul ass over there, and just get back. So it's tough.
I didn't think. I thought that the impediments being silly worked until, because it's like they're still in the show and they're still being controlled by the show. So even though Darcy and Vision are talking about real world stuff, they're still operating under town logic. Yeah, until Vision realizes like that it's silly. But the whole time that was happening, I was like, dude, you can fly. Why are you driving at all?
Right. Yeah.
Just grab Darcy and fly away. I don't know why you're even wasting time here. But again, it's town logic.
He's flown before this, so it's not like he can't remember that he is.
And Vision, he flies. That's how he. That's how he leaves at the end.
That's how he leaves, yeah.
But I guess, it's before he can fly out of there, he has to kind of like pull himself out of it. So maybe that's the explanation. But it's not. Yeah, that stuff was. I liked the idea, but I didn't think it was as successful as it could have been.
Kyle says, I feel like Wanda's been in a holding pattern for a couple episodes. Probably couldn't give her much to do without revealing the existence of a third party. The mystery got in the way. This is the Netflix problem, and not to pat myself on the back, but a few episodes ago, I was like, I think 9 episodes might be too much. I don't know what else we can do here. To me, the way that they fix this is that they just fix that confessional aspect of episodes like this. Like, it just has to be stronger. And I just wonder if the MCU characters can support this in some ways. Like, I guess it's how far you want to skew from the Marvel universe that they're based in, and like how much liberty you want to take with pushing them in other directions, even though I don't know these characters. But when you start bringing in other witches and things like that, it feels more like you're fishing around in the universe as opposed to really caring about where this story is supposed to go. And they still have time to fix it, but it's just. Did you like the ending villain reveal? Like, I don't know what the point of this is really at this point. So I guess they're going to. There hasn't been a lot of time to flesh out what it means, but I didn't feel it was necessary. I don't know. What would you think?
Yeah, I think it remains to be seen. What her putting her thumb on the scale means, or whether or not she's been the cause of everything, or if she's just been a player inside of Wanda's whatever. I think obviously there's not enough there to really make a distinction as to what her impact really has been, or what her purpose is.
Yeah.
It also it's I don't know if it's weird because it's like there's never been a mystery in the show really about who was controlling everything, except for the moments where Wanda wasn't controlling things, and then it implied that something else was going on, which is fine, but it's never been like the focus of the show.
Right. So
I don't find this to be that jarring, because it was a little bit of a weird reveal because they hadn't focused on that so much, that to give you this like grand reveal seemed like it was a little bit more important than it actually was.
Sure.
But at the same time, the way that they did it was so in line with the style of the show that it didn't bother me, because it just seemed like it didn't seem like they were adding gravitas to something that you weren't expecting. I don't really know where I'm going, but it's like it didn't bother me the way that they did it.
Yep.
Because let's put it in Discovery terms. This didn't bother me. This was something that people assumed since before the show even started, and people assumed it correctly that Catherine Hahn was playing this character. This felt more satisfying or less disruptive, I guess, than in Discovery when they revealed that Ash Tyler was a secret Klingon, because that show seemed to be leaning into that mystery as though people cared about it more, and it was like a bigger part of the show.
Right.
Whereas this one, it's like the mystery's been there, but it's not really been the point of the show. There's been other things that have been kicking around, but the identity of Catherine Hahn's character was never like front and center.
Right.
So I think it remains to be seen what impact she has on the show in the final 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. So that's why it doesn't bother me as much to play it the way they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think that her showing up is not in and of itself an issue or anything like that. I think that it's there is a way that they could potentially sort of mix everything together. For me, it's just really the sense that the characters in the show can't exist outside of its larger universe in some ways. Like the way that you adjust plot lines is that you're going to have this Marvel thing where you're going to call in the previous character who other people know, and you're going to bring them into the show in this 11th hour. But it's not, the show itself is not as interested in the grief angle. And that's the problem for me at that point. It's like, well, then it's just becoming this universe building thing where they seem at this point to be more interested in linking it to other items than it is to be dealing with the show at hand that they're working with. Like the Vision stuff and the Wanda stuff is secondary to this other stuff, because the Wanda and Vision stuff keeps getting cut off to introduce other things that are going on. And I don't know. I have a hard time seeing what this character adds if all she's doing is she has been causing the Wanda stuff as well. Mm-hmm. Any impact that character has on Wanda dilutes the grief angle to me. If there's like anything playing into what's going on besides Wanda is responsible for this, it kind of takes away from it, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not going to... I think it's still going to be Wanda-based I think Agatha is gonna have a little bit. She's gonna be a bit of a string puller.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're going to. I don't know. At least I'm hoping that they don't have it be like, oh, this is all Agatha's doing, and obviously that's what the song says, but not in the way that I'm talking about. Like Agatha being there is not. Like Wanda is still the crux of the situation, I guess, and Agatha's input, whether or not she was involved in helping Wanda make this happen or something. But yeah, it is unfortunate that they haven't really had an episode where they could focus on the Wanda and Vision stuff. Oddly enough, like there's been a lot of Wanda and Vision stuff going on. Excuse me, but yeah, they just haven't had a lot of time to focus on it and give the core of the thing that they're going for its full space.
Yeah, I guess to compare it to Discovery, I understand why Discovery has a mystery as its essential storyline. Not that I agree with them doing it, but I understand like they're using it as the primary driver. This show's mystery, as you say, is almost not even clear enough that it's a plot in the story. So when it pops up, it feels a little bit unnecessary, and I think that's why it bothers me slightly more than it doesn't really bother me. But I think I see it more critically, just because I don't think it's necessary at all. Where I do understand why Discovery keeps kicking the can down the road, because that's their whole point of what they're doing. But this show has an emotional thing at the core that Discovery never has.
Right.
And instead it's going to this very trendy, contemporary, keep things kind of mysterious. And I'm like, I don't think there's even a mystery in this story. Like Wanda's created this town, Vision's dead and he's in there. He's realizing what's going on, and S.W.O.R.D is doing silly stuff outside. Like those are the things that I care about. And so when you bring in a character this late, I'm just like, this isn't the point of what the show that I've been watching. I don't.
Well,
think.
Again, to be fair, we don't know. We don't know what she's doing here.
She's a mentor of some kind, right? In the comics, that's what Wikipedia told me. She teaches or something.
And also, it's not like they brought in a completely new cat. She's been there the whole time, and I mean, she has this preternatural ability as the person next door to always have her ear to the ground and know what's going on. So it's not a complete. Let's put it this way. I'd rather they do this than one of the other millions of things that deep dive comic people were expecting.
Mr. Fantastic shows
well,
up.
that still could happen. We'll see how that ends up going on. But because I don't think they've revealed who that friend was yet. And also, Paul Bettany said that there is someone coming that's a big deal on the show.
Yeah.
But like, all of this speculation, maybe Mephisto is the bad guy, or maybe it's this character or this character. It's like, oh, well, no. You can't bring in a new character from outside the story to explain what's happening at this point in the story. Agatha though she hasn't been quote-unquote Agatha, she's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if you're going to pull anybody into it, it would be her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess my thing would just be, I don't think she's necessary at all. I guess maybe because Hayward is such a weak villain that it's like they have to sort of artificially give him some kind of motivation. I'm sure they'll all get into this, but it's it's just, I continue. I don't like the Hayward stuff just because I continue to not like the S.W.O.R.D stuff, and it's kind of laughable. After this episode, people were clamoring for a Jimmy Woo show, and it's like, what the hell? This character doesn't do anything. What are you talking about? What do you need to show for him?
One of the plot threads that they haven't touched on at all in the whole show, I hesitate to even call it a plot thread because they haven't done anything with it, is when Monica first shows up to Westview. Jimmy Woo says, I have someone in witness protection who's living in Westview I can't get in touch with. So I came out here to check on them. It's like, okay, well, it's weird to drop that line and then never touch back on it, or at least have him acknowledge that one of the people in the town is the witness protection person or something. Unless
right. So they've never followed up on that. You mean they've never clarified who this person is?
No, and maybe they don't. I mean, it's not going to break the show for me if they never tell you who the witness protection person was.
It's just a reason to get him there.
Right.
He seems like that kind of character. I just say he's clearly just an audience stand-in. He's the character who goes,
yes.
"Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
What's going on with this? Who are you? What's going on?" But he doesn't have any reason to exist in this show outside of that.
Just to get everybody into motion. Yeah, the Hayward stuff is weird because I don't even think the show really cares about that stuff.
I don't think they do either.
Like, it's clearly there to have an antagonist on the outside, but yeah, it's like I said, in this episode, they just basically check in and make sure that he's still there, and then they don't do anything from that point on.
I just thought it would have been. It seems more. Maybe it's more obvious and more cliche, but it seems conceptually that the thing that would be going on outside with S.W.O.R.D is that this hex environment is a danger to the real world that Wanda is kind of unaware of, and they've instead given them sort of like a personal motivation to go after Wanda instead of just let's try to shut this thing down that's causing all this havoc, which I feel is more appropriate for it. And also puts a little bit more of an emphasis on it being Wanda as opposed to Hayward going let's launch a drone nuke at them to see what goes on. That just seems strange to me. It's comic booky, but I think that's the tension between a quote unquote television drama, or what you expect from a television drama, and what a comic story would add to that as a sort of crazy upping the ante type thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just don't like the S.W.O.R.D stuff. I don't like any of the characters out there.
Yeah, I still find Hayward to be weirdly comically evil at this point.
Yeah.
That still feels like it's part of the show.
And without having a scene where he talks to a shadowy character about something, you know? Yeah.
I think they could have played, assuming it's not on purpose, that he is almost evil to a cliche point. I think they could have easily had him work just as well if he offered the more real world take on what was going on, as far as because you've got the Civil War movie is all about this, quote unquote real world take on what it would be like if people with these powers actually existed and the danger they might pose and whether or not they need to be controlled or something like that.
Yeah.
So to have him take that side of things regarding Wanda and Vision, I think would work more or be more interesting to me than him just screaming at Monica to get them off my base and then trying to blow her up, not telling her what was going on and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
a little stock.
I would agree. Yeah. Was there anyone here? Maybe Agnes Agatha is the witness. No idea what that would be. I'm tend to incline that it was just a reason to get him out there because that character seems like that's kind of his thing. It was just something he was said to show up on time. Mm-hmm. Unless she's altered her appearance, Jimmy would recognize her witness protection. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's if it does come back, I'll be surprised if it's the witness and witness protection pops up and it's Moon Knight or something.
There are 4 shows. This is interesting. There are 4 shows that make me happy: Young Sheldon, WandaVision, Resident Alien, Mr. Mayor. I've heard of 2 of those, and I've only seen one of them.
Mr. Mayor's pretty fun. I started watching that. Yeah, that's a fun show.
What's it on?
I've been watching it on Hulu, but I think it's a NBC show. It's from the creators of 30 Rock. It's Ted Danson plays the mayor of California.
Oh, sure. Ted Danson's in a lot of TV shows. Yeah, I guess final thoughts about this one. I do feel the series is at a spinning its wheels type phase. I just thought this episode failed at connecting its not failed. It failed on executing its idea that the sitcom plot is what drives the storytelling going on, which largely to the show's biggest accomplishment, I think, is that they tracked the history of sitcoms and made episodes that worked within the tropes of those things pretty well while telling a story that goes over it. I thought that's the show's biggest accomplishment. So when it doesn't do that, it's kind of a letdown in episodes like this where it just doesn't really it doesn't use that confessional mockumentary thing to really get into the heart of what's going on in a way that exposes something, because even what they're talking about is stuff that I already know. It's just the characters explaining it to themselves.
What's interesting to me, and we kind of touched on this in the last episode a bit too, is that it's harder with the more modern stuff. It's harder to make the juxtaposition work because the modern sitcoms are so naturalistic in their execution that when you juxtapose something like in this one where you've got Agatha talking to the kids and Billy, I think, saying, "Oh, I can't, it's so quiet in here. You're so quiet," and she starts like getting weirded out and kind of like looking around suspiciously, but they're still playing like the sitcom music.
Yeah,
that doesn't stand out as a weird juxtaposition the way it did in the first episode, where you've got somebody choking to death and the laugh track is playing.
Yeah.
So it's I think that's where some of the style gets a little bit muddled, and I do wish they had played it more like you're talking about, where they use the confessional thing. They use the strength of that style to bring out more of that theme and more of that weirdness.
Yeah.
I think
they do with Vision. Vision sort of it's played for a joke where Vision like bumps into the boom mic, or he's like, "Why am I talking to you?" and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff was good. Like, I even like that he had like a lapel mic on.
Yeah,
too,
on his arm.
And just even the way he's doing those things too, where he's a lot more naturalistic, which is weird for the Vision when he's as the Vision and he's like scratching the back of his head.
Right,
as he's talking.
He's a guy dressed up like a clown, as the character says.
Yeah, that stuff was good. I just wish they had leaned into it a bit more.
Yeah.
Did you do a deep dive on what Nexus might be?
No, I didn't look it up. I thought it was just I thought it was a cute ad, but it didn't make me go, what the hell does this have to do with anything that caused me to look at it?
Yeah, I had never heard of anything, but I assumed it was something from the comics, and there is something in the comics called the Nexus, which doesn't involve, unfortunately, Randy Orton as the real Nexus does.
Then who cares?
And yeah, it's some sort
Picard is in the Nexus.
Yeah, Picard's in the Nexus. Yes,
that's the guest star.
What if the witness? What if the witness is what's his name? Malcolm McDowell. trying to get back into the Soren. Trying to get back into the Nexus. It's actually, I think it's something kind of similar to that, where it's like it's this.
Poindexter says it's multiverse.
Yeah, it's multiverse stuff. Which
is it just where the multiverse collides with other universes?
Yeah, something like that. I think something like that.
Yeah, it's the Picard calling into this one. Did you see that Jezebel story I put on the Discord? Where
yes.
They're like, why isn't Chun-Li in the Mortal Kombat movie?
I mean,
then they have a correction at the end that's like, we're shocked to learn that Chun-Li is not in the Mortal Kombat universe.
Why would you leave the article up?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to, just to show that you like. I guess it is better to post a correction and be like, this was an idiotic article that we wrote. But someone in that comments and that was like, this would be like someone writing a story being like, where's Picard in the latest Star Wars trailer? It's like, what are people talking about?
I mean, to be fair, I would love it if Chun-Li was in Mortal Kombat. She seems like a really cool character. Put her in more stuff is what I say. That's how, if I was the author of that article, that's how I would spin that. I'd be like, well, the point is she should be in it because she's a great character.
Should say unnamed sources that I can't reveal told me this was going to be a crossover, which led to my surprise when it didn't happen. That's it. I guess we're done with WandaVision episode 7. It was called Breaking the Fourth Wall. Thank you very much, guys, for hanging out. You think the sitcom stuff is over now that they've caught up to the modern day and the villain is revealed? I hope not. I want sitcom stuff in every episode until they break out at the end, and then it can
I don't know. It seems like it might be tough to continue it at this point, given because I don't what even is the next iteration. I'm not sure. What would be post Modern Family?
The whole setup is just it's like a streaming operating system run through. It's like you select a one, click through the.
Honestly, that would be if they. If they revealed that the Nexus is basically like Netflix, like a meta interpretation of like a literal Netflix system, but for the universe, I would I would give them a round of applause for that. That would be pretty
I'd be
good.
down for that. Yeah, I'd be down for that. No, I hope the sitcom stuff continues. Even if they just do more, because the confessional stuff can work through the ending. If they just keep this style going and say that sitcoms have not developed after this, that's fine.
Well, I think the interesting question is, though, so I legitimately don't know what the end of this show looks like, because you've got Wanda, you've revealed Agatha as your antagonist, or at least an antagonist to the situation. Monica is there, and she's already given the first version of her, grief is what we are speech that everybody gives when they have that and they're in that position. I would like to assume that the ending of this, you've got 2 episodes left still. I've heard they're supposedly both an hour long. So
really?
that's unless that thing was that the thing I read or heard was completely wrong. I heard that the final couple are supposed to be an hour long. They've got stuff they got to do in 2 more hours of the show, which is, if you put it that way, it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like almost a quarter of the length of the show.
Yeah.
So there's stuff they're going to do. I would like to assume it's not, the end of the show is not going to be a blast fight between Scarlet Witch and Agatha.
Yeah.
Or Monica and Agatha, or some combination of the 3. Yeah, I don't know. I legitimately don't know what they're going to do, because the setup of the show is interesting enough that makes me hope and think that that's not going to be how they end it. But you never know.
There were some good suggestions. It ends with it becomes a YouTube channel, the show, and then it becomes a podcast.
that would be hilarious. That would be very fun.
It would be that Office podcast, the Ladies of the Office, where it's WandaVision talking about their previous episodes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it was, if the last if the series ended with a pullout to reveal that the entire thing was a serial style podcast hosted by Uatu the Watcher, then that would be excellent.
We'll see. Excuse me. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. You can check out all the other stuff that's coming out. We got Star Trek continuing. Rotten Horror Picture Show is continuing. We just did GoldenEye on Patreon, patreon.com/Lipensky File. We got a bunch of stuff on Patreon this month. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers is coming. GoldenEye's there. Me and Clay just did a talk about physical media. It was supposed to be the content thing, but it kind of morphed into a discussion about that. So that'll go up tomorrow-ish. And then there's some other thing. Friday the 13th, part 2 is on Patreon. So there's 4 things on Patreon this month, which is sweet pickings. Thank you, Progman3K. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Where is the beekeeper?
Good question.
We don't have time to talk about the beekeeper. We'll see him.
We're not going to talk about Judy.
He'll be pulling the strings. No, I did not watch the Stinger. I knew there was a Stinger. What happens in the Stinger? I knew there was one, and I didn't watch it. I forgot.
It's not that big of it. It's Monica getting to Agatha's house, and she snooping around, and she opens the bulkhead door and sees like those purple vine thingies coming up out of the sea, and then Quicksilver shows up and like knocks her out or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So Monica finds where Wanda is at that time, and then she gets knocked out by Quicksilver.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for reminding me, Jason. Thanks, guys.
And also, I should specify, her eyes go purpley, like Agatha's power stuff. So I don't know if that means that
Monica's eyes go purpley.
Yes. So I don't know if that means that Quicksilver has the power to wield that, or if he's a manifestation or what.
I think he's a manifestation at this point. She has a line about him not being her brother or something. Wanda does. So
there's speculation that he is Agatha's son, which is a character called Nicholas Scratch. And whether or not that's the case, sure.
Yeah.
I
hope not. This is the danger zone of like, they're like, Nick Scratch is here. Right. It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, like if
it's just his name and it somehow ties in, but he exists much better as a Wanda fake version of her, like your guest cast idea, that he's the wrong version of her brother and she can't get it right for whatever reason.
Well, he seems to be a manifestation of Agatha, not Wanda.
Right.
So
yes, sure. Which makes more sense. Which makes an equal amount of sense, just because it's a wrong version of something. Like Wanda's aware that this is not the right manifestation that she's looking at.
So whether or not that turns out, it just turns out to be Agatha's son helping out. Whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
It's not going to bother me that much.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Check out all the other stuff on patreon.com/thepensky-file and all the other things that are continuing on the channel. And I guess we're done. Enjoy the rest of WandaVision. 2 more episodes to go. 50 hours of WandaVision is what Clay's telling me left over 2 episodes, but we'll see. And then that'll be the end of that season. So thanks very much. See you later.